Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam. So today we are continuing with the fifth chapter, the soul's secret journey, starting with a new subtopic, sex change without surgery.
A man gets his next life's birth according to what he thinks at the time of death. If someone is too attached to his wife, naturally he thinks of his wife at the time of death, and in his next life he takes the body of a woman. Similarly, if a woman thinks of her husband at the time of death, naturally she gets the body of a man in her next life. We should always remember, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that both the gross and the subtle material bodies are dresses. They are the shirt and coat of living entity. To be either a woman or a man involves only one's bodily dress. Stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 31st chapter, 41st slok.
Starting with a new subtopic, dreams and past lives. In dreams, we sometimes see things that we have never experienced in the present body. Sometimes in dreams, we think that we are flying in the sky, although we have no experience of flying. This means that once in previous life, either as a demigod or astronaut, we flew in the sky. The impression is there in the stockpile of the mind and it suddenly expresses itself. It is like fermentation taking place in the depths of water, which sometimes manifests itself in bubbles on the water's surface. Sometimes we dream of coming to a place we have never known or experienced in this lifetime. But this is proof that in past life we have experienced this. The impression is kept within the mind and sometimes becomes manifest either in dream or in thought. The conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of various thoughts and experiences undergone during our past lives. Thus, there is a chain of continuation from one life to another, from previous life to this life, and from this life to future lives. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 29th chapter, 64th slok. Continuing with the new subtopic, comas and the next life.
A living entity, too much absorbed in material activity, becomes very much attached to the material body. Even at the point of death, he thinks of his present body and relatives connected to it. Thus, he remains fully absorbed in bodily conception of life, so much so that even at the point of death, he abhors leaving his present body. Sometimes it is found that a person on the verge of death remains in a coma for many days before giving up the body. A person may be enjoying the body of a prime minister or a president, but when he understands that he will be forced to accept the body of a dog or hog, he chooses not to leave the present body. Therefore, he lies in coma many days before death. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 29th chapter, 77th slok.
Continuing with a new subtopic, ghosts and suicide.
Ghosts are bereft of a physical body because of their grievously sinful acts, such as suicide. The last resort of ghostly characters in human society is to take shelter of suicide, either material or spiritual. Material suicide causes loss of physical body, and spiritual suicide causes loss of individual identity. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 14th chapter, 24th slok.
Continuing with the new subtopic, changing bodies, reflection of Maya.
The moon is stationary and is one, but when it is reflected in water or oil, it appears to take different shapes because of the movement of the wind. Similarly, the soul is eternal servant of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but when put into material modes of nature, it takes different bodies, sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, a dog, a tree, and so on. By the influence of Maya, the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity thinks that he is this person, that person, American, Indian, cat, dog, tree, whatever. This is called Maya. When one is freed from this bewilderment and understands that the soul doesn't belong to any shape of this material world, one is situated on the spiritual platform. As soon as the living entity returns to his original spiritual form and understanding, he immediately surrenders to the supreme form, the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 1st chapter, 43rd verse.
Continuing with a new subtopic, politicians are reborn in their countries.
At the time of death, every living entity worries about what will happen to his wife and children. Similarly, a politician also worries about what will happen to his country or his political party. A politician, a so called nationalist, who is inordinately attached to the land of his birth, will certainly be reborn in the same land after ending his political career. One's next life will also be affected by the acts one performed during this lifetime. Sometimes, politicians act most sinfully for their own sense gratification. It is not unusual for a politician to kill the opposing party. Even though a politician may be allowed to take birth in his so called homeland, he still has to undergo suffering due to his sinful activities in his previous life. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 28th chapter, 21st verse. Continuing with the new subtopic, what's wrong with animal killing? Ahimsa, that is, non-violence, means not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. One should not think that since the spiritual spark is never killed, even after killing the body, there is no harm in killing animals for sense gratification. People are now addicted to eating animals in spite of having an ample supply of grains, fruits, and milk. There is no necessity for animal killing. The animals are also making progress in their evolutionary life by transmigrating from one category of animal life to another. If a particular animal is killed, then his progress is checked. If an animal is staying in a particular body for so many days or for so many years and is untimely killed, then he has to come back again in that form of life to complete the remaining days in order to be promoted to another species of life. So their progress should not be checked simply to satisfy one's spirit. Bhagavad Gita as it is, 16th chapter, verse 1, 2 and 3. Continuing with a new subtopic, evolution, the soul's journey through the species. We see that there are so many forms. Where do these different forms come from? The form of dog, the form of cat, the form of tree, the form of reptile, the form of insects, the form of fish. There may be evolution, but at the same time, all the different species are existing. The fish is existing, the man is existing, the tiger is existing, everyone is existing. It is just like the different types of apartments in any city. You may occupy one of them according to your ability to pay the rent, but all types of apartments are nevertheless existing at the same time. Similarly, the living entity, according to his karma, is given facility to occupy one of the bodily forms. But there is evolution also. From the fish, the next stage of evolution is the plant life. From plant forms, the living entity may enter into an insect body. From insect body, the next stage is bird, then beast, and finally the spirit soul may evolve to human form of life. And from that human form, if one becomes qualified, he may evolve further. Otherwise, he must again enter into the evolutionary cycle. Therefore, this human form of life is an important junction in the evolutionary development of living entity. The above text is taken from the book Consciousness, the Missing Link. Continuing with a new subtopic, Maya's Illusion. Maya's illusion is like the foam which mixes again with the sea. No one is mother, father, or relative. Like the sea foam, they remain for a short while only. And as the sea foam merges into the sea, this precious body of five elements disappears. Who can say how many ephemeral forms the embodied soul has taken? Bengali poem by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, translated into English. So with this, we finish our 5th chapter, The Soul's Secret Journey. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.